Hi everybody, foXnoMad here, and today I want to help you travel smarter by giving you my second impressions of Islamabad, Pakistan. This is my second time in the city, and the first time I was here I did a first impressions, but now that I've had more time to be in the city, to meet more people, to see more things, I thought I'd update that with a second impressions since this is my second trip here. Right now I'm outside the Pakistan Monument in the Shakarparian Hills, which are just outside of Islamabad, so you get a couple of nice views from the city up here. But before I get into my second impressions, I figured since I've come here, I might as well show you around. The Pakistan Monument was opened as a tribute to the people of the country and is a major tourist attraction here. The four petals represent four cherry-picked prominent cultures: Punjabi, Balochi, Sindhi, and Pakhtun, although there are more, with some notable omissions. Of the three smaller petals, one stands for the minorities, and one assumes the majority is not mentioned. There are intricate patterns carved into each petal, and while there's not a lot of shade out here, the Pakistan Monument is a site you might be interested in if you, like the hordes of school children who show up in the afternoon, like Instagrammable photos of nationalistic architecture. The best views though are from above, but you'll have to use your imagination for this one. The petals create a crescent shape with a star in the middle, like the one on the Pakistani flag. So in between these larger four petals, there are these smaller three petals, and the larger four petals are supposed to represent four major cultures in Pakistan. And in the middle here is the star and crescent. So if you were looking at this from above, you would see it in the shape of the star and crescent. Obviously it is on the flag of Pakistan. And from below you can't really tell that it's a star, but if you kind of imagine this looking down on it, you can see the crescent made by the petals and then the star shape right in the middle there. So although this is in the Mughal architecture, it was only inaugurated in about 2007, so the Pakistan Monument isn't that old, but it's a pretty impressive site. It's not too far from the city, like it's a 10-minute car ride from the center. And what's cool is you can see the rest of the city from up here. You can see all the other monuments. You can see the Faisal Mosque, which I went to yesterday. You can see the grid-like system, just how straight all the roads are here. There's just like straight, not highways, but just sort of main thoroughways through the city cutting through. You can see other big monuments, big buildings, and of course the mountains and the hills which begin just right behind the monument. So it's pretty nice. It's one of those things where the monument you can come and see, and you'll spend about 10 minutes looking at it, walking around, but the views of the city from here are pretty spectacular, and it's not too far away, so it's definitely worth checking out. And the entire complex is pretty massive. There's a lot of space to walk around, and there aren't too many people here. It is a holiday, so we got all this just space to walk around, which is kind of nice for such a major touristic monument, for such a major tourist attraction, to have this much space and be able to just sort of walk around, to walk behind the monument and just see what's around. Behind the monument, it looks like we've got here a smaller addition to the complex. So there's not a lot to see in this back part here, but if you do climb up, you can get some pretty nice views of the city, just more shots from above. Those guys asked me to take their picture back there, and I hope it turned out good. I mean, they always see the camera and they just assume that I'm going to take a good picture, and I'm always a little bit nervous that they're like, yeah, it's fine, but never know if the photo's good enough. But they were nice enough. Alright, so let's get to some second impressions here in the shade this time because it's pretty hot. So if we're gonna make second impressions,
hey bro, take a selfie.
Sure. Alright, let's try this a second time. Got a couple of requests to take selfies, so that's what I did. So if we're gonna start with the second impressions, let's start there. It's pretty hot. The last time I was here, it was winter and it was actually pretty chilly, especially at night. It was pretty cold, but summers are pretty hot here. At least in the evening, it does cool down a little bit, so you get a little bit of breeze, I think, coming off the mountains. But during the day, it's pretty hot and the sun hits pretty hard. So bring lots of water, drink lots of water, stay hydrated. You know what to do. Now, aside from the temperature, the vibe you get from this city, I've realized more and more now, is a capital city vibe. And I think what I mean by capital city vibe is that a lot of people aren't actually from Islamabad. Sure, there are locals, of course, But there are a lot of people who are coming from all different parts of the country to study, to work, and with all those different people comes a more cosmopolitan sort of attitude, a more cosmopolitan sort of menu. You can see that in the food. A lot of the food here is Western tinted. There's a lot of hipstery places. There's a lot of sort of modern things going on, and I think you can really push the boundaries more of cuisine when you're in a place with such a diverse population. That's a newer city as well, so they can try new things. They don't have to stick to the classics that have always been served in a particular city because of the history. You can take more chances, more risk. You get people coming from all over, and with those people coming from all over, they bring their food, they bring their traditions, and you get a lot of different types of cuisine and a lot of different types of people and a lot of different looks at a culture. And with that, you get diversity. But one thing I've also noticed here this second time around is the upper middle class. So there is a big upper middle class in Islamabad. You can see that when you go out and just go out to eat. A lot of trendy restaurants. So if you have a lot of trendy restaurants which are more or less expensive when it comes to compared to the local prices, when you see that, you got to know that, okay, there are probably people that are filling those restaurants up, and that's definitely true. There's a big middle to upper class here. You do see that, and you see the divide between rich and poor here more than other cities. I guess I'd say the upper middle class here seems a lot bigger just because there seem to be a lot more places for people to go. A lot of trendy restaurants, a lot of places that are more geared toward people who have the money to spend on those type of activities and those type of restaurants. So at a risk of sounding cliche, Islamabad is a trendy city, you know, in a capital city sort of way. And with capital city vibes comes the capital city feeling that, yeah, we are the best city. Things are good here. But if you ask people who are not from here, they'll say, yeah, their city is great, but life in the capital city is better. Whereas if you take like a bigger city compared to its capital city, like New York compared to Washington, D.C., or Ankara compared to Istanbul, I think a lot more people outside of those cities would say those are great cities. It's pretty rare that people who are not from a capital city will say, you know what, the capital cities, that's the best city to go. At least generally when you're talking about a larger city right next door. So when you have these larger, more active, more cosmopolitan, just crazier, active hubs of activity, basically, when you have these big mega cities compared to a capital city, if the capital city is not that mega city, then chances are the mega city is going to be the more popular, more well-known one, the one people kind of want to go to, and a lot more people will agree is the better city. Whereas I think Islamabad has a little bit of that. So people from Lahore will say Lahore is amazing, great city, should definitely go there. It's definitely the best city in Pakistan. And people from Karachi will tell you the same. Karachi is an amazing city, the best city in Pakistan. It's great. And people will always ask you, so what did you think of Islamabad? Now on my second visit here, I realized that it's still a crazy grid system, and being up here near the Pakistan Monument, you can actually see that grid, which is pretty insane to see how well organized the city is. And with those long straight streets come big sidewalks, come easy places to walk. It's a very, very walkable city. There's a lot of nature here as well. There are a lot of parks, so if you walk, jog, if you want to go for a run, you definitely have the space to do that here. A lot of parks, a lot of open spaces, a lot of places where you can have a picnic, you can sit outside, lots of greenery, and of course the hills just surrounding the entire city. So you can go up into the hills, there are caves to visit here. If you want to go hiking, you have all these different options right in the city. And on my second trip, I realized that it's pretty easy to get around. There are just two things that you should probably do before you get here. One is to get an eSIM, so just get a SIM card with data on it, an eSIM from your country, load that up on your phone so you don't even need a physical card, and then you're good to go with internet. Most everybody here, most touristic places, most anybody you want to contact with a phone is going to have that phone tied to WhatsApp, so you can make calls with WhatsApp, and you can get in touch with WhatsApp, and you can download Careem, which is basically the local Uber, and Careem is just purchased by Uber actually, so it's kind of the same thing. You can basically call a car, get a ride anywhere, and it makes it way easier than having to deal with taxi drivers, because believe me, you don't want to deal with the taxi drivers here. It's always a pain. So using Careem is a lot easier. You do those two things and traveling around here is just way simpler. It's just way simpler, and if you know that ahead of time, then you can just cut out the hassle. Now, if you're a foreigner who wants to get a local SIM card, then you have to pay a tax. So if you're going to use your foreign phone, you have to pay a tax on that based on the price of that phone, and it can get quite expensive. Or you can get something like a cheap Nokia. You can just get one of those, load up a SIM card, so at least you have a phone. You won't really have data on that phone, but you can make phone calls if you want. But like I said, if you use an eSIM, you're going to be able to communicate with pretty much anybody you need to get in touch with. Now, this being my second trip to Islamabad, and having been around Pakistan before, I can compare the prices. So to me, the accommodation in Islamabad is more expensive than most other cities compared to the prices for other stuff in the same city. So accommodation here is, I wouldn't say it's expensive. You do have your very expensive hotels, you've got your mid-range hotels, but compared to things like eating out, I think the prices are a little more expensive. They're not as comparable as to cities like Lahore or Karachi, where the accommodation and the food prices are both a lot lower, and there's not this huge gap between the two. That's just something that stuck out at me this time, having been now to other parts of Pakistan and having a basis of comparison. And I think that comes with having a lot of visitors from out of town, a lot of tourists from Pakistan, and a lot of tourists from out of the country. They're going to be in Islamabad. This is usually going to be the first city that they arrive at, and a lot of people from Pakistan all over will come to Islamabad for sightseeing. So I think that's what drives the accommodation prices up. There are a couple of big hotels that are the main choices for most people, and I think that's what kind of keeps that price divide there, unlike other cities. Now, my second trip here, especially now that it's warmer, you realize that things get a late start here. That hasn't changed from my first trip. Things start afternoon, like literally like after 12. That's when things will start to get going. Before then, it's a pretty sleepy city. It takes time for the city to wake up. But on the flip side, that means things happen pretty late at night. Most restaurants, most places to eat out are going to be open till 12 at least, and they're going to usually be open a lot later in the evening, especially toward the weekend, because that's just how things roll here. 8, 9, 10 a.m. you have the whole city to yourself. You want to go for a run, you want to go for a walk, you want to make a vlog at a monument, those are the times to come visit, because you won't have anybody around. People won't start waking up until about 11, 12. At least the places that you want to visit won't start getting active until then, and most food places are going to open up around noon as well. But having said that, the tempo in Islamabad is pretty fast compared to other cities in Pakistan. So the tempo is pretty fast because people have places to go. Again, gives you that capital city vibe. People are on the move, people eat quickly, and then they move on to whatever they have to do next. You see that, you notice that in Islamabad, especially when you've seen other parts of Pakistan and sort of the time frame everybody else seems to be on. And in terms of safety, yeah, it feels very safe like it did the first time. And when you get used to people coming up to you and wanting to talk to you, wanting to offer to buy you meals, wanting to offer to, sit with them during a meal, at first, if you're new, you might think, okay, these are scams. I'm in a big city, I'm in the capital city of a massive country, and people are offering to pay for my meal or asking me to sit with them in a meal. You might think, hey, these are scams. And in most other big cities, there probably would be scams. Like, that would be a very unusual thing to happen. But in Islamabad, in Pakistan, it's very common for people to be extremely welcoming to visitors, to foreigners, to offer to pay for your meal, like I said, to sit with you, to talk with you. That's very, very, very common. So don't be surprised if that happens to you in this city. I'm a lot more used to it now, so my guard is a little bit different. So I kind of expect it and know, especially when I have the camera out, people will come talk to me, and it feels a lot more warm and welcoming now that I know that it's not a scam, now that I know that those are genuine offers and that people are just really curious and just very welcoming. And it's really nice. It's a really nice feeling. And the second time you visit a place in a city, the more familiar you are with it, you get kind of the headache stuff, the logistical stuff really out of the way, so you know what to do when you arrive, and you can really enjoy it a lot more. I can easily say this second time in Islamabad, I can really enjoy it a lot more just because I've gotten rid of that logistical stuff. I can really focus on all the things that I want to do and meeting people and eating and, doing capital city stuff. So a lot of Pakistanis will ask you and have asked me, so what do you think of Islamabad? Well, I hope this second impressions video has helped answer that question for you. But if you're curious about traveling in the rest of Pakistan or more about Islamabad, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. I'll have new videos for you every week and more videos from Pakistan coming up soon. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm all sweaty. You can see the sweat coming through my shirt. So if we're gonna start with the second impressions, let's start there. It's pretty hot.